Sinkala, who is the president of the World Native Identity Foundation, to deliberate on the Zim elections for us. Doctor, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Well,
Thank
we
you for
heard what
having me.
President Ramaphosa said there, Doctor, but now we're hearing allegations of two prominent, not even prominent, front-runners, presidential front-runners, flouting electoral laws, and Chamisa is one of them. What is your sentiments to these news?
Yes, I think even President Emerson Mnangagwa is one of the culprits there. They couldn't resist because after the speech by former President Mugabe of what he said, you know, they had to make some certain things clear, you know, so you know, the Electoral Commission of Zimbabwe will talk about it, but it's not a major thing. You know, it's part of the race, actually. Yes.
Doctor, talk to us about the change that all Zimbabweans, including in the diaspora, are calling for. A lot of people are saying, well, if you're talking about change, it's definitely not the ZANU-PF.
Yes, definitely. You know, most people, what they do not understand is sending former President Mugabe to early retirement, if I can say that. You can say maybe it's a long overdue retirement, but to him was an early retirement was not only solving any other problem, because President Mugabe was an institution being guided by ZANU-PF. So him alone was not enough to overturn the political transformation in Zimbabwe. So that's how they vie for the complete overhaul of the electoral process. It's unfortunately that the Zimbabwean Electoral Commission hasn't been fully funded to function properly. They were unable to register a lot of voters. I mean, right now they are being represented by only less than 6 million people as compared to close to 16 million people. So this is a problem in Africa for misrepresentation, because a small number like that cannot represent a majority people's plight. But at least we having a sense of moving forward. There's a lot of excitement from people. They want the complete change, which they've been longing to.
Speak to us about the registered voter turnout, Doctor, of about 15 million or so people in Zimbabwe. About 5.6 million actually registered to vote, and we're not even sure that that whole 5.6 million is actually going to go to the polls. What do these figures say to you about politics in Zimbabwe and voter education and the willingness to go out there and bring about this change that everybody's crying for?
Yeah, yes, because of the transition from the authoritarian rule by Mugabe, it's been difficult. There was a lot of voter apathy, and the people now, they're transforming themselves to come back and try to vote. We're not looking at the whole voter registration of 5.6 million, but it might be less. We're looking at the numbers about 4 million or less. Because of unforeseen circumstances, maybe other people won't turn out or sick or other excuses. So, but it's at least it will be a guidance for them to choose, you know.
All right, let's look at the ZEC. You just mentioned it now, and there has been reports that, or allegations, let's put it that way, that the ZEC is actually has similar or vested interests with the ZANU-PF. So this election is basically rigged in favor of the ZANU-PF.
Of course, they've got the government machinery. They're using the resources from the government. Unfortunately, the ZEC, they are subservient to the ruling party, who is ZANU-PF. But you know, these are just some of the political tactics which we can all rely on and say this will be an excuse for MDC not pulling through. But a lot of history has said it that even where there is machinery, you know, when there's a time for political transformation in the country, things overturn. I mean, I've given an example before in 1991 in Zambia, when long-serving KK was taken out of power, but he had all the machinery, you know. So if the people decide that this is the way we have to go as Zimbabweans, even those machineries, even the small things where they are saying there's a voter inconsistencies. There was one incident where most of the MDC complained that on the road there, on the voters' road, it's supposed to be in alphabetical order, but they are putting Mnangagwa first. You know, but we put all the hopes in democracy that the Zimbabweans now have decided that they have to make a transformation, and we're looking forward to, for them to choose the best candidate amongst all.
Doctor, SADC did say last week that they won't give credibility to the Zimbabwean elections if they are not indeed free and fair. How do they then go about making sure that this indeed happens?
Unfortunately, SADC, they've got their own problems.
Yeah.
I mean, SADC and the AU, they've got their own tantrums. I don't know when they're going to finish. I wish I never spoke about them. But SADC, they are 60 or 70% funded by others, whom we are trying, who are fueling wars and everything, civil wars in Africa. So they compromise the system. So that's why sometimes we just have to look beyond looking at these regional organizations, committees, and do democracy according to what suits us into these individual countries.
Rules,
so some countries, I mean, they have on many times announced free and fair elections in Zimbabwe when they were not even free and fair. So they talk about peacekeeping missions, but there's no peace to be kept. So these are some of the things that they all flop, and the SADC and AU, they do not actually come. Even the recent ousting of former President Robert Mugabe was done by themselves, the Zimbabweans. Meanwhile, they went to sit in Addis Ababa. So the international community, as observers who are on the ground in Zimbabwe, I think they're helping a lot in terms of the media and checking that everything is all right. But the will of the people, I mean, the people of Zimbabwe have suffered for so many times, and under the leadership of ZANU-PF, and I think ZANU-PF failed even their own leader. So I think the transformation will be meaningful.
And Doctor, just as a parting note, we've heard reports of a glorious and very peaceful election. We've had calls coming in. You witnessed some of them. People are saying everything is going well. But can we expect the same when the results are announced?
There's another problem in Africa. Politicians, they don't lose elections. So if they lose, they say the elections were rigged. So they are not very nice losers. But I think in Zimbabwe, it's not just a normal general elections, but I think it's a transformation for the people who are oppressed by the authoritarian regime. I think they're making their right choices. So even if there was those shenanigans and everything to stop it, I think the decision will be given to the people who deserve it. And I wish all the 2 candidates or the rest of the 23 candidates, whoever gets the PIP, I'll be there for the inauguration, just like the president. The President Cyril said that you'll be waiting for that. That's what we wait for the best.
Right.
Yeah.
We might be going to Chamisa's inauguration. Who knows? Doctor, thank you so much. What a pleasure. That is Dr. Charles Sinkala, the president of the World Native Identity Foundation, also giving us his notion of the Zimbabwean elections.